Good afternoon, one and all. Kailash, can you summarize what we learned in the last class? You joined already? Kailash. Raghunathan, Ramana Rade Patmudile. Raghunathan, can you unmute and talk? Okay. So what did we learn in the last class? So we are moving towards something called, we have been talking about something called binary classification problem. Okay. Binary classification. Under the binary classification mode, we used hard limiter functions like this, okay, either 0 or 1. Now, in the last class, I introduced you to the logistics. No, the same binary classification, but in the range of 0 to 1, more like a probability. Okay. So we need to think about multi-class classification also. Instead of either belonging to one class or not, when I'm going to have multiple classes. Okay. So I have different set of data. One data is like this, another one like this, another one like this. So different data. If I want to classify multi-class classification problem is different. We need to think of a different transfer function called the softmax. We will learn about it. Okay, but right now just think about it. So we are right now talking about classification problems. So I will pose you a question here. What do you mean by regression problem? Regression problem. Did we uh, see some kind of application of regression problem? Anybody in the class? What is regression? Instead of classification, we are going to have a data something like this. Imagine a data like this. I would like to predict, this is with respect to time, some data. I would like to predict this next instant of data. Okay? So in that case, I'm trying to fit a function through this. This kind of function approximation problem comes under a domain called as regression. Okay, so you'll be given this poor data and you are trying to plot a graph, okay, particularly every famous term called time series forecasting. You might have heard of this before. Am I audible, you guys? Are you guys listening? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Kirti Vishnu. Yeah, fine. So now, look at this. So we need to think in terms of time series forecasting. So for example, how can we solve this problem? With the perceptron, can we work out this kind of a solution? I have a data set like this. How can we solve this regression problem? How do we work out this? Any idea? Do you understand the problem statement? I have a set of data. Okay, let us imagine it's data 1, data 2, data 3, data 4. With respect to time, I have noted down. Okay, now this is x of t function. Now I would like to know the value of this data x of t at some time greater than this final point, some k plus 1. This point is, if it is k, it's k plus 1, I want to know. How can I do it? Any idea? Okay, so you try to choose different lines. Y is equal to mx plus t. So vary the slope, vary the bias. Okay. So try to identify, yeah, all possible lines are there. So identify the best possible fit, best possible weights of the neuron and the bias of the neuron in such a fashion that the errors between that particular weight, that particular line and the weights are going to come down. Okay, so that kind of a problem is called as a regression problem. How do we understand it? Data there. So what is the problem statement? Can somebody help me out? What do you want really? Fitting a function, okay, for the given data.
Sir, sir,
Yeah.
sir, if you don't mind, can you repeat from the first, sir? I just now joined, sir.
Who is that?
Sir, Ananta Karthik, sir.
Another Karthik, yeah. So look at this data, Another Karthik. I have a data like this.
Okay, sir.
This may be the what you call housing. Okay, over the years, this may be year 2015. The price has increased now. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
2017, 2018. The data set is like this. Now I'm asking you, can you predict, okay, that the price of the house for the year 2025? How do you go about this job?
We should find the factor by which it's increasing each year, then apply that accordingly.
Yeah, that's more like fitting a function. If I know the slope of this line, it goes like this, then it's more like this 2019, 20, 21 I can put, and I can tell at 2025 what is the price, what is housing price.
Okay,
So
sir.
it's this kind of a problem, they call it as a regression problem. Okay. In the case of classification, either 0 or 1. But in the regression, you have all real values. Okay, so you can take any value. These are all real numbers. Okay, you can have any number. So, but
Okay,
here we are going to predict. Okay, we are going to fit a function. So how can we do that? So line fitting problem is basically only two expressions. What are they for line fitting? So I need to know this line's slope. So that is more like y equal to mx plus. So if I know this line slope along with this bias, then I'll be solving this problem, knowing the future value.
Okay, sir.
Okay. But how do you get this M and B? How do you train your network?
Sir, by analyzing the already given values, sir.
Yeah, that's it. So see, you have a sampled values at various time values. Okay, this is the data. So now this is going to be my input data, and this x of t is going to be my output data. So this labeled data is given to you. This 4 data set is given to you. Okay. So naturally you'll be applying the same idea. Time t is x of t. X of t is equal to a neural network, that is a data output. So for various instants of time, I'll be collecting this value 0.2, 0.5, 0.9, 0.7. I'll be collecting this data. This is the data set given to you. Now, in the original statistical approach, okay, we'll be finding out this M and B using a problem called as linear regression solutions by some least squared based approach. The least squared approach method is there in order to find out the M and B values. Okay, in the same manner, here we are going to talk in terms of neural network. Understand what I'm saying? So now we are going to talk in terms of neural network, so linear regression. One. So in fact, in the second class, I introduced you this idea. I hope now you can verify that. Y of k minus 1, y of k minus 2. These are time domain data. Remember, if I give you these 3 data, what in fact you did? You trained a network to find out what is y of k. Not a classification problem. You have all possible values of y, the real value. But in the case of what you call classification problems, you'll be having either 0 or 1 or in between whatever 0 to 1 will be sticking on. Okay. But here in the linear regression problem, we have all values of real values and you are trying to forecast. You are trying to predict or forecast the next value or next future values. Okay. So that's the linear regression. So the same idea, now you can extend it for this line fitting or curve fitting problem. Okay. So the data is there and what to fit a line. So for this kind of a simple line fitting problem, how many neurons I require for this problem? To the input data, the output data. How many neurons I require? How many weights I require to fit this line? Anybody from the class? Varsha? Do you understand the problem? Yeah. How many neurons are required? Yeah.
One is enough, no, sir?
That's all. Very good. Why you are hesitating? I think that's the confidence, man. See, when you are hesitating, you are not confident. Okay, so it's very clear there is only one input. Okay, there is only one node of neuron I want. Okay, there should be a bias. There should be a threshold. Okay, the thresholding should be a kind of a smooth function here. Naturally, I want something like this. So this is your time and this is your x of t. Y output of input. So feed input and try to put a line. So y is equal to I want wx plus b. So in this case, what is this? This is w. This is wt plus b. T is the input node. I'm telling time. Okay, that I'm calling it as t. So naturally, I'm looking for an output y. For these three data means I'm trying to train. Okay, I'm trying to identify a weight and a bias, so that I'll be getting a smooth line like this. So that line will pass through those data. Okay. So you need to minimize the error. For example, initially when you are choosing a particular weight and a bias, okay, the line may be somewhere here. Your data may be here. The line may be somewhere here for this particular weight and bias. Okay. Then what do you do next stage? You compute the error. Okay, you try to compute the line and the difference between this line and the points. Okay, so these points are there. So this error you would like to minimize. So this error, once you get this error, square it, and then the square value of error with respect to your W and this B. You try to minimize the same manner whatever we did for the gradient descent, the same idea. Okay. So you can minimize this error and try to get the best fitter of line. So this kind of problem is also there. First one is called a classification problem. So far they have been discussing. Okay. The classification problem is more like I have data here, another data here. I try to draw a line separating these two. That's a classification problem. And in the case of regression problem, you try to forecast, you try to use real values. Okay, so you try to fit a line or a curve. The data can be somewhat here. It may be like this. So the data may be a curved line like this. The data is like this. So I would like to put a curve instead of a line. Okay, so this kind of problem you call it as a regression problem. Okay, so the regression problem is different from the classification problem. The third problem just introduced you to is called the clustering problem. The clustering problem, in fact, yeah.
Sir, one small doubt, sir. Is there any
Yeah.
specific reason why we are squaring the error then differentiating it with respect to weights?
That's what both the negative and positive errors you will be having now.
Okay.
So when you square it, then naturally you're going to get a lump sum error.
Okay, sir.
Okay, only for addressing that you are squaring it.
Okay, sir.
Okay, another point is when you are taking the derivative of the error, okay, you will be doing something like 1/2 times. Okay, remember 1/2 times of that square value of error. This 2 is introduced deliberately to counter this square value. Because when you are differentiating, this 2 is going to come down. Then you can cancel that and you can scale it. So thereby this 2 is introduced deliberately to address this 2. Okay, the error square. When you differentiating this, you are going to get the 2 down. Okay, like this. So naturally this 2 can be cancelled with this 2 and you will be working with it. But
Okay.
that only some mathematical convenience. That is nothing here. Okay, 1/2 times. So clustering problem, can somebody tell me what is clustering problem? You have a data set like this, another cluster like this. So you want to group, separate out this cluster from this cluster. So you will be having different clusters like this. So that's something called a clustering problem. Okay. So now so far we have been talking about single layered perceptron. Okay, and I also introduced you to something called multi-layered, a single layered perceptron to multi-layered perceptron. So what is that advantage we have seen? I hope you can recall that multi-layered perceptron diagram. Okay, Hope we can. Logistic. This is a logistic neuron we are talking about. Okay. So I hope you can recall the concepts what we learned in the last class. So remember this function 1 by 1 plus e4 minus w transpose x. That's the kind of function we are talking about. And we also understood the idea that your points, your data points has to pass through that function. Okay, that's what we learned. Okay, that function. Then what do you call it as learned? The same idea. See, when you are doing this regression, in fact, you are passing it through this. So this is logistic functions. Okay. Logistic neuron they call it. It's a logistic. Sigmoidal neuron is logistic. Now, for different values of W and B, you have plotted this graph and you obtain different values. Okay. We also in the last class, last but before class, in fact, yeah, you said something about yeah, somebody said something. We also discussed something related to yeah, this one. Can you recall this idea? So what did we learn under this? In fact, in order to represent the XOR gate, okay, we drawn lines like this in order to separate out the XOR gate. I hope you can recall me. Any line will not, a single layered perceptron will not solve this XOR gate problem. So what did we do? We in fact gone for a network something like this. Okay, this is a kind of a network I'm talking about. So this particular neuron will fire for only these two, and this neuron will fire for only these two inputs. And thereby you can have very well, you can design your network because this H1 is going to be 1 only for this input 0 0. This idea try to recall. Now in today's class, let us see that in a different perspective. Okay, but, before doing that, I will project that what do you call the slides of the Viksharaj, so that you'll gain some insight. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. This is neural network course offered at CMU. Okay, so there are a lot of applications like image segmentation, recognition problems can be solved. Okay, with, you can read this slide later, but let us try to focus on one important point. Here is it. Yeah, this is kind of modeling, McLaughlin-Pitts model. Okay. Rosenberg perceptron network. This is what we are seeing right now. This is the kind of learning we are talking about. W equal to W plus learning rate into E times X.
Sir, your voice is breaking up, sir. Sir, இப்போ சுத்தமா கேட்கல.
Really happen. So we'll try to think about it geometrically. Yeah.
Sir, your voice wasn't audible, sir, for the past minute.
Okay.
Could you repeat what you said, sir?
Yeah. So we are talking about something called a perceptron network. So we are seeing the slides of Viksharaj from Carnegie Mellon University. Okay. So is it now audible, you guys?
So now it's audible
now? Yeah, good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So here is the geometric. expressions we are talking about. Okay, so looking in terms of a line. Okay, so then your classification, Boolean function with real perceptron, is all this we have seen already. How to train also we learned. Now look at this. So now I would like to have a kind of a decision boundary, not like this kind of lines, but this kind of a geometric shape, like a polygon kind of a shape. Okay, how do you train your network? That's something you have to think. We are talking about something like this. Okay, this kind of a shape I would like to create. Is there some ideas from your end? How can we create this kind of a shape instead of a line? Okay, I can draw lines. Okay, how do we generate this? So what is the problem he is telling? When the input is lying within this boundary, okay, this polygon boundary, network has to fire. If it is outside, it should not fire. Can you generate such a kind of network? That's the question before us. Okay, can we use a perceptron, a single layered perceptron to address this kind of a problem? Is a question before us. Now look at this. That's what we are doing. See here, I'm trying to draw this line first. Okay, using the inputs x2 and x1 and fixing the weights. By choosing the weights accordingly, W1, W2, I can draw this line. You all agree with this? W1x1 plus W2x2 equal to some threshold. That's what we did here. I hope you can recall that. When this is going to fire, only these weights are going to play role. Okay, this is the weight -1, -1. These two weights for this input will give you the line equation. Okay, so the same idea here also. So I have drawn this blue line now. Now I want to draw this line. Okay, this line. How can I do that? Use one more node. Can you see it? If I use this node, this is going to draw a line like this. Okay. Because why this line slope is like this? Primarily because these two weights are going to determine the slope of it. So I have to choose the slope accordingly so that I can draw this line. And the third one, look at this, I can draw this line also. See, more complicated data set I'm right now handling. Okay, it's not classification quite easy. It's more than complicated. The complication is more than the XOR problem complication. Okay, I'm going to have more number of lines now. Okay, so look at this. I'm going to have this line. So vary this weights and I get a new line like this. And then the next line like this. Okay, so I drawn different lines in order to capture this expression. Okay, so that's the idea. So are you getting the point in what I'm trying to convey? So once you've drawn this, so finally I will be getting something like this. So you pass on all these through this final AND gate in order to draw these lines clearly. So that the data set inside this polygon will have one particular output, and data set outside this polygon will have a different set of output. Okay, so I can do the classification for a much complicated data set like this. We're getting the point, what I'm trying to convey to you. So that's the kind of complication. More complex boundaries can be generated. Okay, you can generate one boundary like this from this particular network, and you can generate another boundary, another kind of polygon like this from another set of network like this. And then you can combine both and get an OR operation and can get a much more complicated, complex decision boundary. Okay, can somebody explain this slide a bit? From your end, this is an important slide. You have to understand the power of neural networks. For a two-dimensional case, I'm talking about this particular complex geometric shape. You can think of an n-dimensional space wherein you can create and play with this kind of weight manipulation with a single layered network. Imagine that, that's important. When I give x1 and x2, I'm talking about what's the dimension of this data set. It is going to be 2 dimension or 2. Okay.
So your voice isn't audible, sir.
Fashion, okay, for the complex pattern of data. You can do that with the help of a single layered perceptron. You understand? Yeah.
Sir, your voice wasn't audible for the past minute, sir, again. So could you repeat, sir? Sorry.
Why it's getting like that? I don't know. It is in the. I think somebody is keep on calling me. You know. That's why the phone getting disconnected. Phone when I'm getting a phone call, the connection is getting disconnected. The internet connection is getting disconnected. It's a problem. Okay, fine. It's not coming. Okay. Now let us try to understand it. So this idea, did you hear this idea?
Yes, sir, this was audible, sir. After that,
Yeah, these lines we are drawing now. Now, what I'm saying is complex decision boundaries in a two-dimensional plane is what you are seeing here. Two-dimensional plane, x1, x2, two-dimensional data. You can do this, okay, with the same single-layered perceptron like this. Or you can go in for a multi-layered perceptron. Okay, this is single layer 1, this is layer 2, this is layer 3, like that. Okay, when you're going for it, you can create much complex, what do you call decision boundaries like this in an n-dimensional place also. Because imagine we have x1, x2 here. Instead of that, if I'm going for x1, x2, x3, I can go for a three-dimensional kind of data set. Okay, x1, x2, x3, x4, four-dimensional data space. Like that, I can go in for an n-dimensional data space, and still I can have very complex decision boundaries in an n-dimensional data space also. And whatever be the structure I want, the pattern of the data set I want, it is possible for me to create. Okay, with the help of this kind of layered, multi-layered perceptron. Okay, that's the power of this neural network. Yeah.
Sir, one more doubt, sir. So does this all come under the clustering thing we told, sir, before?
No, it's a classification right now we are talking about.
This isn't that cluster one, sir, you told.
Yeah, these are all some kind of classification problem. But these are all, if I'm doing it in a labeled manner, it's under classification. You understand? If I'm doing it in an unlabeled manner, then I'm trying to cluster it. Okay, you got the point, really?
Yes, sir.
So if the data set is given and you are training it in a supervisory mode, you are doing a basic a classification kind of a problem. Okay, either belonging to this set, you give it 0. If it is going outside, you give it 1. Okay, that kind of a problem.
Okay, sir.
Okay, either zeros or 1. But if we are doing it, the data set is the complex boundaries are not clear to you. Okay, only the input data is you are being given only the input data. Then allowing the network to learn by itself, it's a different problem. Okay, it's not exactly a kind of a perceptron related problem. Because perceptron basically you require the output data set. Okay, that's where the idea of a self-organizing map and all kinds of unsupervised mode of learning comes. That's a different problem altogether. Okay, you need to imagine that clearly. So perceptron basically we are talking about labeled data. You are not training the perceptron with unlabeled data. Because in order to work out the error function, you need to know what is the difference between the present value and the neural network output, the desired value in the neural network output, then only you can proceed further. Okay, the gradient descent rule is whatever you are going to apply now. You require the error. Error means what? Between the desired data and the labeled data and the neural network output. Only when you know that error, you can update the weights accordingly. Is it not?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so but the key point is, which I would like to make here is, complex decision boundaries can be created with the help of neural network. So this is what we learned so far. Individual perceptrons are computational equivalent of neuron. The MLP is a layered composition of many perceptrons. MLPs can model Boolean functions. MLPs are called as Boolean machines. They represent Boolean functions over linear boundaries. They can represent arbitrary decision boundaries. They can also be used to classify data. Okay. Now, what about continuous value, the regression parameters? Whatever we are learning now. So, MLP can also be used as a continuous value regression. That's what I said. Okay, so you can represent the functions like this. So you can create functions, and again can work out something like this. We will be building something called towers like this. So I want to approximate this complex function. So look at this case. I said I want to approximate a function like this, a curve like this. My data is this. My x of t is this. So these are all the data points. So I want to know, I want to predict, I want to forecast what will happen when time. This is, let us imagine k time. I want to know what will happen at k plus n. In that case, I need to exactly fit this curve over the data points. Then only I can tell what will happen at k plus n. So it's more like curve fitting problem. That's a regression problem, I said. So in order to fit this curve, how can I do it with the help of a perceptron? So I need to create something called Towers length. So I want to approximate this function. How do I approximate? I choose values like Towers like this. Okay? Towers like this. These towers will help you to approximate this function. Okay, look at this. How to build the tower is a big problem, another problem. See, look at this. These towers, they can approximate this function. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. Okay, as a continuous value regression function, you can do it. So MLPs can also be used for that. Okay. These ideas you can just take read out this later on. But right now, we will move ahead. Okay. But before that, I want to project this MLP training. Okay, how we can do that?
Sir,
So
I
far
have a
we'll-
doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sir, by creating towers for a continuous data, we'll lose
Yeah.
some data now, sir. So
That
then
loss
how
will
do
be
we?
there. Always you have to understand that neural network, they are called as powerful function approximators. It's not exact fit. Okay, they are only approximators. You can use any neural network with the help of an MLP, you can train any function. That's the power. It's called universal approximator neural networks. It's a good doubt, but the problem is we cannot get accurate fit. You get only approximation. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let's see this demo. So this we learned. So now you can clearly see by varying the weights, you can draw different lines. Imagine that polygon I have shown you. Okay. By varying the weight, what I am doing for one neuron, I am drawing this line. Okay, this line can be drawn like this. I can adjust. For example, I want to draw a polygon. So the first one I am keeping like this. The second one, do you remember? Where did I end up in? So I need to modify this slightly like this. And then I adjust the bias. I get this line. And then I'll be adding all those neurons. Remember, the first layer, I'll be adding all those neurons in order to create that a particular polygon. So that's the idea. To change these weights and bias in such a fashion that I can draw different polygons. Okay, so with the help of this, you can clearly visualize it. For perceptron classification, yeah, this is what we learned already. Then we also have something called decision boundaries. Yeah, how you can train the network. Okay, I want to separate these two data sets. I can train it. I can move this line in such a fashion that I can separate out this. The weight vector, look at always the weight vector. Weight vector is perpendicular to the decision boundaries. You should not forget that. Clearly you can see the weight vector here is perpendicular to the decision boundary. Okay, so if I want to change this, I modify this, the weight vector is here. So this is a misclassifier. Wait, see how the weight vector direction is changing when I am rotating. Now this all these values are misclassified, primarily because it's opposite. So you have to do it in the reverse. Yeah. See here, now it is classified. This is a perfect fit. Okay,
Sir.
identify. Yeah.
Sir, on doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in the same scenario, sir, like if we have
Yeah.
3 white dots and 1 black dot,
Yeah.
but in my case, like the black dot is so far away that there can be different lines, different types of lines can be drawn between the white dots and the black dot.
Yeah.
So which lines should be, should be taken as the optimal line, sir?
So that is in fact, see, you have a lot of solutions. That's the problem with the perceptron. Okay, in this case, you can, even in this particular case, you cannot say exactly that this is the best fitter. Okay, See here, when this data, this point is somewhere here, this is what you are saying. This is not this black point, somewhere here is what you are saying. Now, let us
Yes,
see
sir.
that. Yeah, let's see that. Wait, I can modify these points. Yeah. So you have options always. Maybe I'll put this learning except on rule learning. Yeah, we'll take this point. Okay, we'll keep this point here, these 2 points as you have mentioned. And this point initially here. Okay, now let us train this network. Data point is given, it's trying to adjust now. Yeah, this is a line pretty sure. Now again I'm training. Learn this, I'm slightly adjusting now, and then again I'm training. Learn again. Learn. This point here. Training. Again, data set is going inside. It's trying to separate it. It's now looking for it. Iteration is happening. Yeah, some iterations are happening. Trying to identify the right kind of bias. Yeah, with the bias, let us try to work out. See, it's looking for a particular point. See, the basic point is who asked that question?
Sir, Abhijit, sir.
Abhijit, see, when you are looking for a classification problem, try to understand it very clearly. See this idea. You have to understand this point clearly. Your doubt is valid. Okay, so what you are saying is, I have a set of points here. Okay, another point initially here. So when I am drawing it like this, it seems to be a best fit. But what you are asking is, my data point is here. The other point is somewhere here. Okay, so I can draw this line. 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 Out of this, all these lines, which one will give you the best fit? That's what you're asking. Is my question is right?
Yes, sir.
Now, can you imagine the solution in your mind? What's the solution?
I think
Out of this line, which one will give preference?
the line nearest to the 3x's, the first line.
So, Abhijit, that's not the right answer. Why I'm telling you it is, you have to understand the problem statement clearly. What's the problem statement? I am interested in classifying. Classification means what? For all these data, I should have 0. For all these data, I should have 1. Okay. So irrespective of this line position for classification problem, if I get for this particular point value as 1, I'd be happy. Because the error function is based on classification, misclassification. You understand? But my problem can, my statement, do you understand clearly what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Because it's misclassified, that's all. That's all I need to know. It may be either 0 or 1. Okay, you understand? So the error can be W equal to W plus X or W equal to W minus X. These plus and minus are based on this classification error. We are not bothered about how far this data is from this particular line. We can draw any line which separately. All these lines are equally good. Equally good primarily because it satisfies my condition. What is the condition? This should be plus, this should be minus. That's all. You understand? But the problem really comes when you are talking about something like this. The curve fitting problem I said, na. For example, I have a line like this. Okay. Initially, I'll be drawing a line something like this. And then I'll be drawing something line like this. and then I draw a line like this. Out of these 3 lines, this is called regression problem. Okay, out of these 3 lines, which one is the best? The line which is very closer to the data. It's called regression. This error is what I am interested in. What is this error with respect to this data, and this line? Out of this, you can see clearly this error is minimal. When we are learning about linear regression problem, okay, the corresponding gradient descent learning rule, you will understand that clearly. But right now, just imagine this. For regression problem, identifying the best fit is definitely an issue. But in the case of classification problem, you may have many solutions. Varsha, are you understanding this problem clearly? You said you got a different solution for the problem, perceptron problem. It is naturally allowed to have multiple solutions for perceptron. You need not worry about it. Okay? You'll always be, as long as you are classifying the data correctly, you can have a lot of weight parameters which can satisfy that particular condition. You getting the point clearly what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now with that in mind, okay, now look at this multi-layer. We are going to move towards back propagation learning rule. But before that, I would like to show one demo so that you get somewhat comfortable with the idea of back propagation. Yeah, look at this. Yeah. Now you see this clearly. So now look at this case. What I am doing is I am going to approximate a function, okay, with the help of a multi-layered back propagation neural network. Clearly, you are seeing there is only one input and one output. It's going to come out here, okay, at the A2 level. I'm using a summation function which sums up the weights as well as the bias. Okay, the bias is given like this. It's more like WP plus B. WP plus B. Okay, that's what happening here. Then that aggregated value passes through a function like this, a sigmoidal function like this. You get the output and then pass it through again a set of weights and take the summation and pass it through a linear function like this, pure linear function like this, and then collect the output. Okay, then what is the function I'm trying to generate here? I'm trying to fit a target. The target is more like a sinusoidal function. So I'm trying to approximate here a sinusoidal function like this. Okay, certain sinusoidal function. Now I'm going to simulate for some random weights this sinusoidal function. So now can somebody tell me what is the input here? What is p value? What's p? Input is
1.
What's the input? Input is 1, clear. Okay, so we have a data set like this. P1, target is 1.707. So this data I am generating from what? By generating from a sine function like this, some 5 by 7 something. Okay, so I'm trying to generate a data set. If as soon as I plug in this value p inside, I'm going to get some output, that is 1.707. Look at the function carefully. 1 plus sine p, that input, pi by 4. Okay, so that's the kind of function I'm doing. 1 plus sine, it's more like p is nothing but the time t is more like pi by 4. Okay, into p, time t. It's more like 1 plus sine omega t. Omega is pi by 4. T is 1. Okay, this is the kind of function I'm trying to generate. So now I can generate for various values of this p. I can collect data by substituting for p. I can collect, for example, I can plug in 2, I can get some 1.8. I can plug in this value, I can get some 1.9. So this is called as data generation. Normally, you will not be knowing this function at all. You will not be knowing this function. But what you will be having, you will be having this data set. Okay? And I would like to generate a neural network which can take these inputs and I can map it to the given targets. That's what so far we have been talking about. I don't know this function. Okay, I don't know this function. But with the help of a neural network, using the data I have, I'm trying to model this particular function. Then I'll be satisfied when this model, neural network generated model, maps all the given data. Okay, if it is exactly mapping, whether you'll be happy? For the given data set, the given neural network, okay, for the given P, it maps exactly the target. Whether you'll be happy is a very important question. You need to be a little bothered if it is exactly mapped. Why? Because we don't know from where this data has come. Okay, if it's exactly mapping, there will be, if the new data comes now, if that is slightly different from this distribution of data, probability distribution of this data, then you get error immediately. So this kind of a problem, when you fit the input-output data set perfectly, we call it as overfitting problem. Because we don't know when the new data comes, if it is slightly different from the existing distribution of data, okay, you may get error immediately. That we don't want. So normally you should not underfit also, and you should not overfit also. You should maintain a very careful balance in training the network. Okay, now look at this. I'm trying to generate my neural network. Look at this. Output is 1.707, input is 1. Now I am simulating. Carefully look at this A1, A1. These are all the outputs of the first layer. A2 is the output of the neural network. Okay, when I'm simulating, see, I'm computing A1 first. Log sigmoidal function I'm using. Okay, I'm computing this one, A2. And then purely. Purely, if I compute 0.446, what I'm getting the error. What is this error? Can somebody tell me? 1.261. What is this error? Can you see the error clearly? 1.261. What is this error talking about? Can somebody tell me what has happened now? What has happened so far? Tell me. Ananta Karthik.
Sir?
Can you tell me what has happened so far? Problem statement.
We gave an input. We are giving an input and finding the target output, sir.
Okay, good.
And the error is a deviation from the, from the result we got from the labeled input given.
That's all. Okay, it's very clear. So what we have done so far is we have generated a data set. Normally, this kind of generated data set will come from, for this case, it is 1 plus sine p into pi by 4 is given to you. Okay, if the model is known, you need not again remodel. But what I'm for example case, in fact, Professor Martin Hagen has taken it for MATLAB demonstration. Okay, but in the real world scenario, you'll be getting some data set, and we don't know the function at all. Only the input-output data set will be given to you. And then we need to build a model using neural networks. And the neural network model basically comprises of weights, biases, and transfer functions, log sigmoidal functions or tan sigmoidal functions like this. Okay, this kind of models is what we are talking about. And then the first layer, you are simply taking W1B plus B1. It's more like a vector form. You have to imagine this. W transpose X plus B, remember that. So you have to multiply this weight with P, this weight with P, and then add the bias. Okay, for both the cases. Then you will be getting the output layers, first layer. That output will be given as an input to the second layer. The second layer will be getting 0.446 as the output. So naturally here it is clear that the output is not exactly matching with the desired output of 1.707. There is an error here. Now the second point, this is a key point. Now I'm going to use this error. What I need to do using the error? Can somebody tell me? I want to minimize the error. In order to minimize the error, which parameters I can change here? Which one I can modify? If I want to.
So the weights.
The weights and biases needs to be updated. But here, instead of having only one layer, we have two layers. So this error is not only a function of this layer, the first, the immediately, is more like a penultimate layer. Just before that, that's a predecessing layer. Now, this layer is also, weights are also going to contribute for this error. So all these weights and biases, they play a role in fixing this error. So naturally, this error is a function of this layer 1 and layer 2, both weights and biases. So I need to back propagate this error so that I can update these weights. Okay, that's what we are going to do. See, I'm going to back prop this error. So these weights now going to get updated. I'm checking now how sensitive these weights are to these errors. Okay, now I'm going to update.
So can you repeat what you mean by back propagate, sir?
Yeah. Yeah, the back propagation is nothing but, see, after passing the input data, 1 minute, you watch this. Okay, after passing the input data through these layers, okay, you obtained an output. So this kind of signal propagating in the forward direction is called as a forward propagation of data. Okay, in this manner, forward propagation. Now, after obtaining an output, you are seeing there is an error with respect to the target data, and you need to now modify the weights and biases. So what I am doing is, I am going to check what is the sensitivity of these weights and biases with respect to this error. How sensitive? For example, if I tweak any one of these weights here, okay, if I tweak any one of the weights here, the layer 1, how much the error changes? Do you understand? That's why dou E by dou W. What is that? In fact, the rate of change of error with respect to the weights. The sensitivity they call it. How sensitive the error is with respect to the weights. The slope. Okay. So if I know that, then accordingly I can tweak my weights so that my error will get minimized. You understand? So that's what we are doing. So now in that case, I'm trying to back propagate. See, the error has come out now. I'm now taking the error and propagating through these layers in such a fashion that I'm trying to check whether how much sensitive each one of these weights are to the error. Okay, and accordingly I will be updating the weights so that the new set of weights can give me a much better reduced error. So that's what we mean by back propagation. Now I got a new set of weights. Now I'm going to update. Okay, for the new set of weights are updated. For the new set of weights, again I'm forward propagating the data. Again fixing the target. Now I'm simulating for the updated weight. Immediately you will notice something for the updated weight. Okay, the error will definitely come down. See here now error is very less. Initially it was 1.406. Now it has come down to 0.948. So this is called multi-layered perceptron network training. Okay, we'll see the mathematics behind it, the derivation part, but just get an intuitive idea that in the case of design of back propagation calculation, you are forward propagating first, get the error, and then you back propagate the error and try to fix the values of the weights so that at every next iteration, the error will come down. You understand the point what I'm saying? So now with this new set of weights, I got a much better error. Okay, this is called error minimization problem. Okay, any doubts so far? Any doubts? So now we need to look into the gradient descent approach. But just I introduce you to that idea. So we are talking about the theta, this parameter, and we are interested in a small change, del W, del B. So that the change in the values of del theta, W and B can give me a better cost function. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. New weight is equal to old weight plus some change in weight and biases. Okay. The eta is a learning rate. So That's what we're talking about. Now, what is the right delta theta to use? And it's going to come from the Taylor series. So look at the Taylor series notation. What does this really tells you? Taylor series expression. What is L theta? What is L theta? Can somebody tell me? What is theta? Weights and biases. Okay. Now can you recall whatever we have learned here as a function of weights and biases? Okay. Now tell me what is L theta? The cost function. Remember that we defined a cost function. A is equal to 1 by 2 LPD minus LP the whole square plus summation for various patterns. So I am looking at a cost function like this, and here L theta instead of J I have used LP. The professor has used L theta. So this is nothing but okay the error function for this error. Instead of error function I have used L theta. So this is nothing but error with respect to W. So this is theta and this is theta. You understand now what is L and theta? So in order to find out the rate of change of this, we are trying to split open this function, okay, in the form of Taylor series. Okay, so if I do that, I'll be computing these values. L of theta. So I'm just incrementally adding something. Okay, what is that here? Okay, this L theta plus del theta is what I am interested in computing. In order to do that, I am doing the Taylor series. Okay, I am doing for Taylor series. You understand what I am saying? So I am looking for an incremental change. For doing that, I am going for Taylor series. I can, if the function is continuous, a kind of a continuously differentiable function, I can go in for the first derivative, I can go for second derivative, third derivative, and all. But for our case, we are going to stick on with the approximation is very rude. We are going to stick on with the first derivative. Okay, L theta first value plus eta times U transpose del theta L theta. This del theta L theta is nothing but the dou E by dou W. Okay, so that's what we want. So delta theta is equal to U. Del theta is equal to U. We are going to fix the U transpose dou E by dou W is what we are computing. So naturally, what we are interested in is L theta plus mu. L theta plus a small change. U is nothing but del theta, right? Okay, the small theta change should be lesser than L theta. This is what we want. Why? Can somebody tell me why this should be the case? Think in terms of error. A new error after adding the error function after adding the new weights, your error should be somewhat minimum than the previous case for the old weight. Okay, that's the condition we are fixing. The new loss function theta plus theta del theta, the function of the loss function, the error function in terms of this should be less than del theta. Understand the point clearly? What I'm saying? The previous one. Everybody with me? Anybody having difficulty in understanding this? Can somebody tell me what is this? Guru Baran? What do you understand from this? Anybody? In the class?
So we are trying to change the minimize error, sir, by changing threshold value.
Not threshold. Where is the threshold?
No,
Theta is nothing but W and B, I said.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. W.
Okay, here in this case it is W and B. Don't see the perceptron we use theta for threshold, but
Okay.
here the notation is slightly different. We are talking about W and B. Theta. It's a parameter.
Okay.
I'm interested. So
Yes.
we would like to see at every iteration. This is the first iteration. The second iteration, when you are updating the weights and biases, you should have a much reduced cost function. What we are trying to convey. The cost function is the error.
Okay. So
Okay.
cost function is error.
Error, squared value of errors.
Okay.
Okay, that's what we learned. Remember that cost function. Yeah, I already introduced you to this idea. And I already introduced you the idea of new weight is equal to old weight theta only by old. Remember? Now in this case, how do you look at this case? L theta plus delta theta, that's this old new weight, is going to be L theta minus rho L by rho L delta. Rho theta. That's what we are looking at. Understand the point what I am trying to convey here?
Yes, sir.
So here, in fact, this should be theta. Yeah, that's it. Old one, the old last one. So I'm trying to update like this. When I'm doing like this, I would like to keep delta L theta, this value, this loss function or error should be less than L theta. So that in the next iteration, I am getting a much better error value. This is a function, cost function. Okay. So for doing this, what should be this case should be? That's what we are doing. From this case, we will derive this. W is equal to W old minus this value will derive. Okay. So think about this carefully. We will again come back and see this expression. This is everything coming from this expression. So you have to understand one thing. This expression is stemming from Taylor series. This minus indicates that one. From the Taylor series we are getting. We will see that in the next class. We will stop here. Okay. See you next class. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Any doubt? Any doubt? Anything? Yeah. Anything
No
to be
doubt.
discussed? Yeah.